Once upon a time, there was a hill. All around the base of this hill, a river was flowing. At the top of the hill, there stood a beautiful tree, a fruit tree, an apple tree. In the side of this hill, there was a door, a beautiful little door. Mostly, I guess, what you could call camouflaged. But if you were to step really close to that door, you would notice that it's really easy to open and close. It's as easy to shut as it is to open. So, if we were to step inside that door, we would find ourselves at the top of a really, really long, dark hallway, sloping down, 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 down. So, arriving at the bottom of the hallway, we find ourselves in a kind of techno-womb kind of a place. What's the craziest, most technology-filled space you can think of? There was tubes that shot out from the wall and twisted around and T-boned with other tubes that needed to be welded together in order to conduct I don't know what to I don't know where. And there was a whole network of wires, every single colored, all crisscrossed, all alluring in this network lattice. And there was buttons of every single color, shape, and size, all waiting just for you, just to be tested and pressed. Now, on this particular once upon a time, there was a person standing at one of the machines, holding a printout in her hand. She was looking at that printout. It was the printout which was the list, listing the list, listing the list of lists, listing the list of things to do. And once she had carefully intaken all of that information, well, she pushed a button and stepped onto that treadmill and started to go back and forth between the liquid refreshment unit and the helmet T4 L3 77 kind of a thing, and she was doing this and pressing that button and doing that and getting that done and going back and forth, and wow, it was quite an amazing feat. She was quite convinced that all of these machines, well, they were doing her right because there was this optimized pie chart conveyor belt thing that was telling her exactly what she needed to do and what protein and amino acids and carbohydrates she needed in order to keep walking along this way that she knew as the way, the journey, the way of the journey, of the path, of the flow, which of course needed to be measured and quantified in order to prove the validity and the righteousness of the reasonable, rational truth. Our hero, she was talking to herself. I have all of the best machines at my disposal. I am being coddled and cared for and groomed for no other reason except that it is what the body and mind truly want. I am so happy with all of this optimized life and this protein, amino acid, carbohydrate. Wow, it is so wonderful to be in this place. Even the quiet times, which all of the printouts suggest is absolutely necessary, are all factored into my daily regimen and routine. In fact, I like these lying down times so much, I think I am going to give them a name. I think I'm going to call them Shivasana. Now, there was some sort of a niggly headache that had been growing for days and days. It was, you know, not only was this regimen of optimized lifestyle with protein, amino acid, and egg ejector, and time spent under the lamparous solaire in order to ensure proper UV and vitamin E intake in order to maintain an antidepressant kind of level, and not only did she have that regimen to follow, but she also had to maintain all of the machines. There was always wires being popped out and new things that needed to be welded to other things. And her eyes were tired from darting back and forth between this popped wire and that popped wire. And not only that, but there was some sort of a something that kept growing and growing, and she didn't quite know what it was. She wasn't even sure if it wasn't just a figment of her imagination. She kept trying to calibrate this and push that button, but whatever she did, it just kept getting worse until finally she just ended up frozen in a tightly balanced kind of a there was a new fresh sound that could be heard. So she craned her ears to hear and looked around and discovered that there was a previously unnoticed by her tunnel leading to... And when she looked, she sniffed around, and there was... Something inside of her kind of clicked, and she ran over to her archives. There was piles and piles and stacks of papers and printouts, and she shuffled through them all, and she found one. It was titled Optimal Air. And she ran back to the tunnel, and she sniffed around, and she looked at the chart, and she sniffed, and she looked. And sure enough, that air matched the criteria exactly. Well, she was in a bit of a quandary, right? Because if she tried to turn on the machine to get some liquid refreshment or something to eat, you know, a liquid protein, amino acid shake, carbohydrate with parsley, the sounds came back and the machine started to go, and that oppressive feeling came down like a helmet on top of her. And so, well, you want to know what she did? Yeah? Do you guys want to know what she did? Yeah? She went for it. She decided to go and see what was up at the top of the tunnel. Now, having never ever done anything like this before, she didn't know what to take. So she looked around and she thought, well, I'm surely going to get thirsty. It's probably a long journey, so I definitely have to bring my liquid refreshment XRL23-4 with me. But how? And again, she looked at the tunnel and she realized that it was really dark, and so she would probably have to bring her Lamperouse Solaire UV ray vitamin E antidepressor unit, but how? In the end, she found herself a little red polka-dotted handkerchief, red with white polka dots, handkerchief with a birch tree on it, and she found herself some bread and some cheese, and she put that into the little handkerchief and made a bundle and found a stick and set off. And it was a long journey. Longer than a lifetime or two. But I am quite sure that we have all undertaken this kind of journey before. You know the one? With fear in your heart and sweat on your brow? There arose squirming worms to kill and tumbling rocks to jump over. There were moments that felt like the combined screeching of broken violins and nails against blackboards. There were moments when she saw the 10-headed looped thoughts of insanity. But when she did finally step out, well, she looked and she saw a hill with a river and a tree, and her thoughts, well, they slowed right down. And in the next moment, she found herself sitting under the tree, eating a piece of fruit, watching the river as it flowed on by.